Really?
Quiet on the set. How are we going to do a show quiet?
I guess.
Hi everyone, I'm Mitch Jurasich, and welcome to a very special edition of Hooked on the Niners.
I'm Dan Brown from the San Jose Mercury News. We will look back briefly and painfully at 2015.
And I'm Terrell Jones. We'll go back and we'll look at what's happened so far at free agency and other signings.
And I'm Jerry Walker. What's this say?
Yeah, we've made that now so that...
So, I'm just here to listen to the show.
No, he's going to offer more than that. And we will talk a lot about the NFL draft coming up this week and how it may affect the 49ers. We'll have all that and a bunch of other stuff too right here on Hooked on the Niners. Hooked on the Niners is partially underwritten by the following. Bach Construction Incorporated. They can be reached at 415-518-4900 or on the web at bachconstruction.com. Eddie Perez Painting Company. They can be reached at 650-363-5904 or on the web at eperezpainting.com. F. Ferrando and Company can be reached at 650-756-2800 or on the web at fferrandoandco.com. Lawson Willard Architecture can be reached at 415-674-1102 or on the web at lawsonwillard.com. Pettinelli Financial Partners. They can be reached by phone at 650-595-4600 and on the internet at pettinellifp.com. All right, welcome back to Hooked on the Niners. We were just a little off camera here talking about Prince and the passing of Prince and how sorry we are about his passing. I know you three guys were big Prince fans, so we'll start out with a little
Let the Minnesota guy give a little.
Yeah, tell us.
In his purple.
What do you want to know about Prince?
Well,
I mean, he great artist, 39 albums that he put out.
Wow.
20,000 other hit or songs that are in the vault. Wrote many songs for other artists as well. In my opinion, top 5 guitar player. Mm-hmm. Eric Clapton said, they asked him one day, he said, how does it feel to be the greatest guitar player in the world? He goes, I don't know, ask Prince.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And a great humanitarian as well.
You may ask, what does that have to do with Hooked on the Niners? Absolutely nothing. I'm just stalling because my friend here, Dan Brown from the San Jose Mercury News, said we were going to look back, a painful look back at, so I was just stalling. So 2015, they fire the coach, a coach that had gone to 3 straight NFC Championship games, won one of them, and I don't know if he was hard to work with, if he was a little loose, between the ears or whatever, but that was the start of the whole thing, Dave.
It was the start and the end of the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
I think you see it happen time and time again in sports. When they fire a coach, they hire somebody who's the exact opposite of the predecessor.
Right. Yeah.
So they went from a guy who was edgy and difficult and to the most easygoing guy in the world. And I think they overcompensated because Tom Sula, as great a guy as he was, maybe didn't have the background required to be an NFL head coach.
Right.
You look at his resume, no previous head coaching experience, no previous coordinator experience, and that cost him. I mean, it cost him a year.
Right.
If you're an NFL franchise, you want to win or you want to rebuild.
Yep.
Well, they didn't do either.
They didn't do either one of them.
But I'll say this.
Yes.
For a first-year coach, in a situation he was in, it took a lot to hold that team together, and he did.
Yeah, he never lost the locker room.
No, they didn't lose. They lost more than they won.
Yeah.
But he never lost the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, especially when you have like a mass exodus. You're losing Patrick Willis, you lose Borland, you lose Anthony Davis. You start looking at that.
Yeah, I think it was 14 starters.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Cap gets injured, or they pull him. Then Carlos Hyde goes down. And they could have easily just folded in and said, hand our cards, but they didn't.
Right.
And one thing that I saw, being around a coach when you have a losing season like that, you want to see how the players respond. It seemed like everybody was on the same page with Tom Sula.
Right.
Nothing spoke better to Jim Tomsula than the season-ending victory over the Rams.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing to play for. His fate was pretty much sealed. they went out and won anyway in a pretty dramatic game. So
Yeah.
that gave him a nice ending at least. I'll be curious to see what he does next.
I now think that was a nice ending, but at the time I was thinking it may just have blown our chance to get Jared Goff, which we will get to a little bit later in the program. But yeah, it was a good win.
But also, too, look at how Coach Tom Sula handled that last game. He knew that he was getting fired.
Right.
Because, I mean, it popped up, at 5 o'clock in the morning, our time, And how do you do that to a coach? I don't care what you think of the coach.
Right.
You don't do that going into the last game. At least have enough respect and courtesy to talk to him afterwards, and don't leak it.
And to speak to what Jerry said, anytime you change quarterbacks, I mean, this isn't, it's any team. Any team changes quarterbacks, you're going to divide the locker room. It's just common sense. Some guys are going to want this guy, and some guys are going to want that guy. And Jerry, I don't think that even bothered this team.
No, it didn't. That's what I mean. He held that team together. Yep. No pointing fingers.
Right.
There might have been some grumbling, but that's to be expected when losing, but not to the extent that it could have been.
What do you guys think? It's kind of unfair to throw this at you. What was the low point? Do you think where was the nadir, as they say, for this past season?
Losing to Cleveland?
That was mine.
That's pretty good.
With Johnny Manziel at the helm too.
Who's that?
Yeah, with Johnny Manziel and
So the toughest day for me was the Arizona game. We had a function going that day, and I walked over and I said, is that a replay?
Yeah,
No,
I remember
he just
that.
threw another interception.
He threw
It's like,
another
oh,
one.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was too.
I would think Arizona's the game where you really started saying, wait a minute, is Kaepernick, is he going to get it?
Yeah.
Because he looks lost and he looks overmatched and he looks like he's regressing. And that, I think that was the first real sign that this guy was taking a big step backwards.
Do you think that large in part was because his mentor was now gone? Speaking of Harbaugh?
No. Well, I mean, it could have something to do with it. Anytime there's a change in coaches, it's tough to readjust to the new game plan, the new offense, the new defense, whatever it might be.
Yeah, ask
We're gonna
Alex Smith.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're going to see some more of that this year under yet another new offense and defense and game plans.
Well, and also too, when you have coaching changes like that, a lot of coaches will come in there and say, okay, this is how we're going to, this is the system we're going to run now, instead of saying, what's going to fit this quarterback?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
Well, some of the speculation, but I think they did that, and I think it backfired. I think they said, hey, what would serve this quarterback well?
Right.
It's simplifying things. He doesn't have to make all the reads. He can just do whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't have so much to think about.
Right.
But what they forgot to factor in is the defense has less to think about too.
Yeah.
And then the Arizona
good
players
point.
said after that game, we
good
knew it
point.
was coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We could
Yeah.
look at the formation and tell he was going to throw this way.
Right. And he's never going to deviate from this
Right.
with something different. And so you kind of work yourself into your own problem. How about positives? Anything positive come out of last season in your mind at all? If I can I ask the question, I'll jump in. I thought seeing Navarro Bowman back was pretty cool.
That was great.
Right.
Yeah.
That was great. He's a leader, and he's already a leader into the next year.
Yeah.
Some of the quotes I've seen question about the defense under Chip Kelly has to struggle, and they're always going to get worn out. And I saw a quote by Navarro saying, "Come on, man. Everybody that's ever played football wants to be on the field. They
Right.
want to be out there.
Right.
And he will be. He'll lead them again."
Yeah.
I think a positive is, and it continues to be a positive, is Tom Rathman. Look what he's done with the running backs.
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde goes down. You bring in a guy from off the street. Sean Drone, he did well. Their pass protection I thought was very good as far as running backs go. So no, that's a positive.
I thought the young guys all stepped up.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that this isn't positive, but I thought that Jed wasn't as available or there to comment as much as I thought he should have been during the course of the year. Do you think that, Dan?
Well, he put that target on his own head, because when they parted ways with Jim Harbaugh, he said, "Hold me accountable, hold
Right.
my
Oh,
feet to
boy.
the fire if things aren't going well," and then he vanished, and I don't think that played well.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't say, "Hold my feet to the fire, I'm going to hold a press conference every week."
Right.
And I think if you look around the league, owners don't talk that much.
Sure.
But he said,
Unless you're Dallas.
if things go south, I'm the guy. And things went south, and I think the public sentiment was already on edge with this guy.
Right.
That was not a smart, him vanishing was not a smart play.
Yeah.
So the night he supposedly started the vanishing,
Yeah.
his wife was having a baby.
Right.
And he was at the game and didn't show up in the locker room because he went straight to the hospital to be with his wife while she delivers. The media, I don't think, ever picked up on that. But there's a lot more to a story than meets the eye many times.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of other days than that one.
Right.
Yeah, there were other times too, and that's why here on Hooked on the Niners, if you ever see anything wrong with the show, it's Terrell that you hold his feet to the fire, because the three of us have nothing to do with it. It's all his fault. We've got about a minute left. Keepers, guys that, even though it was a down year, just think of somebody in your head other than Navarro Bowman that, we got a guy at this position, we don't have to worry.
Carlos Hyde, if he's healthy.
Okay,
he
Carlos
could
Hyde.
be one of the best running backs in the league this year if he's healthy.
Yeah. Terrell?
Staley.
Staley. Yeah, you got the guy at left tackle. Anybody come to mind?
Phil Dawson.
Phil Dawson.
Got to build the team around.
Yeah, build a team around. Build a 14-year veteran kicker. Attaboy. I can see general manager in your future. Jaquiski Tart, I thought, had a pretty good year, and I think he's somebody worth absolutely holding on to. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about what's gone on so far this year with a team that was $61 million under the cap. And I think you already know what the answer is, but you'll hear what we have to say when we come back, right here on Hooked on the Niners.
Why do you think I don't give my name when the show starts?
Hi, my name is Alphonse.
I'm Jose.
I'm Luis.
I'm Elizabeth, and we're part of the founding class at Ace Charter High School, the first group of seniors. Before Ace, I didn't really have any academic goals.
As long as I was quiet, no one pushed me.
I struggled, but school was not a priority.
Now that I'm an Ace, I'm optimistic about my future. My teachers support me to grow every day.
Our plan is to go to university and be the first of our families to go to college.
To be successful and be role models in our community.
For more information about Ace Charter High School, please call 408-406-5907.
All right, welcome back to Hooked on the Niners. That was a wonderful promo right there, or public service announcement. So far, what they've done in 2016, we got to start with the hiring of Chip Kelly. One thing I wish I'd stopped saying, and this has nothing to do with Jed or Trent Baalke. We're so excited to announce this coach. Yeah, forget excited. You got the best guy that you think you could get. Maybe it's the only guy that would come there, and he's getting $25 million. Just stop all the excitement stuff. What about the hiring of Chip Kelly? I don't know where that went, but it just got.
So no excitement. We just go.
Yeah, Chip Kelly. Okay, yeah.
I'll be curious. I don't know how Chip Kelly's going to fare.
Right.
I'm not sold on this guy. I think he's one of those guys who's got a bright offensive mind. I think he's pretty innovative, strong-willed, and all that stuff. So a lot of the positives that you want out of a head coach, I was alarmed by the bad blood that followed him out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's kind of a dark cloud that followed him out, and I think those are red flags to me.
Yes.
And some of the red flags were this guy can work with college kids, but he cannot manage NFL personalities. Mm-hmm. That's been a knock on a lot of college coaches, and a lot of college coaches have failed because of it.
Yeah.
Well, also, too, didn't he have more control in Philadelphia?
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and so look where that, if you look at, past history, you got a college coach who comes in and he's got a lot of control. This is his first time coaching in the NFL. So, so you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I'm sorry, if I'm an owner of a team, I'm not going to give a college coach control.
Right.
His first go around.
Right.
There is no way.
Some control, but not total.
And and I like Mike Nolan, but look what happened with Mike Nolan.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't a college coach, he was a pro coach.
Right.
But it was his first time being a head coach.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Exactly.
And I'm with Dan. I don't know what I don't know. Was he the best man for the job? From what I've read, from Mike Silver, is that they could have had Hugh Jackson. Mm-hmm. But, they kind of came in there thinking that you should really want us. We shouldn't have to really court you.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
no.
Exactly.
So.
Jerry, you were part of probably one of the most successful transitions from Hall of Fame coach to another potential Hall of Fame coach in the switch from Bill Walsh to George Seifert, which involved George was on his way to an interview, and I guess as the old story goes, he was in Dallas switching planes for Cleveland,
Heading for Cleveland.
And somebody called up and said, "Don't take the plane to Cleveland, turn around and fly back to San Francisco."
And a great transition.
Yeah.
George may have done better than Bill because of the pressure he was under to replace Bill. Mm-hmm. And that team, we all loved Bill, but I
Sure.
think that team may have played harder for George to prove it's a team deal.
Yes.
Not just one coach, not just one person, next person up type of thing. So that worked out. Yeah, 2 Hall of Fame coaches, definitely.
Not to digress and get off topic here, but it's kind of like what maybe the Golden State Warriors are going to have to go through as we're sitting here talking about this. We are during the breaks. Dan is checking his cell phone for the MRI results on the most important knee in America as we speak. So maybe they're going to have to do that sort of stuff. Play that it's a team thing, and it's not just about Steph Curry.
How about those Warriors?
Yeah, how about those Warriors? That's
73
right.
wins,
73
all the records.
Oh,
Great
wow.
season.
It is a great season. All right.
We are distracting from this Chip Kelly thing. So Tom Sula
So I
said
started
Chip
out with
Kelly could
Prince.
be washed.
Yeah.
The secret. Very simple.
So back to Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
I think Chip Kelly would admit, I think many people in the mix with Chip Kelly would admit that he made some mistakes in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yep.
But football, NFL, is all about improving on your mistakes, learning from your mistakes. So maybe we're going to see a renewed Chip Kelly.
Do you know what I want to know about Chip Kelly? Is when he's on the sideline, he's holding that board, and on the back it says 8. What does that stand for? Okay, that went nowhere.
That's actually a snowman.
Okay, it's a snowman.
Snowman.
You mentioned about being a college coach and how poorly he did in Philadelphia. There were several African-American players that complained about him. Deshaun Jackson, Shady McCoy, Jeremy Maclin, that he didn't get along with the African-American players, allegedly. I mean, nobody knows. But when we tried to sign free agents during the offseason, everyone we seemed to try to go after, some of them ended up in Oakland, and it makes you wonder, do these free agents call other guys and say, hey, look at, the 49ers are after me and they've got Chip Kelly, what do you think? Is that something that follows him? I can't connect the dots on why a team with the second most amount of money under the cap in the NFL, right next to Jacksonville at $61 million, wasn't getting any big name free agents, and I can't get my arms around that.
I mean, there's a lot of factors there, and I would think the biggest is I don't think the Niners are willing to overpay the way some of the teams are for the big free agents. I think that
And I agree with that.
that Trent Baalke, his past has been kind of let the big fish go off to the highest bidder and then kind of sneak in a few undervalued guys. So I'm not going to tie it to Chip Kelly. I do wonder maybe though, his personality aside, is San Francisco used to be the #1 destination for any free agents.
Oh yeah.
Players wanted to come play.
Yep.
And I think you were in the era when during games they'd say, hey, what's it like to go play for Eddie DeBartolo? What do you got going over there? Because guys wanted to be here so badly.
Right.
And that is now maybe, not only is it gone, but it's the opposite. I think they've seen the dysfunction of the coaching changes. I think Trent Baalke's reputation is kind of in question a little bit. And, Jed York. So it's not the discount kind of franchise.
Right. And in the old days, if they needed somebody to play goal line defense, they'd spend $1 million on Louis Kelcher or $1 million on Fred Smerlis and bring those guys in. Money wasn't the issue. But what about the fact that we've heard that he allegedly does this testing, urine tests, to find out if you're getting enough sleep and if you're properly hydrated, and so wouldn't that kind of get you? It would. Why are we doing all this?
Well, okay, so this is a new age,
Yeah.
of technology and all this stuff.
Which leaves me out right there.
Yeah. let's not even touch that one. Okay. Let's
We'll
leave.
get back to you in a minute.
Yeah.
You didn't have to take a test this morning?
No, I did not.
Huh.
Hey, my eyes open up and I can see the bedroom. That's the test I just passed. Yeah.
That'd be kind of like testing the Titanic when it's going down.
Yeah.
Oh. Jeez.
He's got a big hole.
But you're doing all this stuff, and I think players get weary of that because you really think about it. Players, and a lot of people don't realize this. Okay, players are there 8 hours a day, sometimes more.
Yeah.
Studying film, practice, the whole deal.
Right.
Well, now you've got to go take all these additional tests as well.
Right.
And yeah, there's certain things you can find out, but how can you measure a player's heart?
Well, that's if you find out a way, there's 32 teams that'll be after you.
You know, I mean, when I was there, we had a guy who was actually a pretty good ball player named Julian Peterson.
Right. He's a great player.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, JP is like 6'4", 250, 4% body fat.
Yeah.
This guy would come in the mornings with a grape soda and Carl's Jr.
Huh.
And then, you know, and I'm like,
The
JP.
breakfast of champions.
Yeah, and I'm like, JP, okay, wait a minute, you can't be doing this. You know, this is going to slow your production. He goes out the next game and has 12 sacks.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Well.
so I think there's sometimes there's too much.
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, it was Welch's grape soda. So yeah.
Well, what about his offense goes so fast that the defense doesn't get enough time to all these things that you're hearing, Jerry?
So you're always going to hear negative things about a coach who doesn't win every game.
Right.
You can hear negative things about coaches that do win every game.
Yeah.
So I put all that aside and I say, let's wait and see. Let's give him a chance. There's some things like a minute ago you mentioned he did so poorly at Philadelphia. He didn't really do so poorly. He had a pretty good first year, and then the rest of the league seemed to catch up a little bit to his offense and how to take advantage of his defense. So maybe if there's some changes there, some little tweaks here and there, who knows? I think it's going to be exciting football.
Yeah.
No, but the key, really early in training camp, I want to hear that Chip Kelly has learned and he's adjusted. Because that's the big thing for me. Like Jerry said, if guys adapt and adjust and change their styles, I think that was one of the, Mike Nolan, I think, was the same guy when he got hired the same day he left. He was super stubborn. You have to change.
Yeah. You've got to go with the flow.
But you brought up a good point, in training camp. And I remember Coach Walsh used to say this all the time. Said sometimes less is more.
Yeah. One thing that happened during the offseason, we may run over just a little bit here, and I want to get to this. Chuck Nevius wrote a story the other day about disgruntled 49er fans and how it seems like the fans that are buying tickets at the new stadium are not going to be, I'm with you through thick and thin for the next 30 years, 49er fans, and that the old type fans are just kind of dying out. And I hear more and more disgruntled 49er fans speaking up about, not liking the direction of the team. And I think that's pretty key if the fans aren't happy. And what if they all don't start paying off their seat license?
Right.
Right.
What is the 49ers going to take every one of them to court?
Right. That's how they're heard, right? By not renewing their season tickets, by not showing up for games.
Yeah.
I think that it's York specifically, and it's like this offseason. It's almost like a broken promise when he says on the day that Tom Sula gets fired, hey, look, we've got all this cap space. We're going to take great steps to improve this franchise. Now, I don't think they did a crazy thing by not spending like crazy.
Right.
But when you set it up the expectation of we're going to go after some big prizes and don't do it, you can understand the fans' frustration.
And I understand what you guys said about overpaying, but I'm looking at it from the standpoint of the 49er, the fan that's home, is at home and has heard what you heard, and I'm saying, oh, looky, we're going to get some good stuff during this offseason, and, we got coal in our stocking.
And you're right, but you look at certain teams, you look at Pittsburgh, you look at, New England. They go out and acquire players that are still good, but it's not going to cost, not going to break the bank.
Right.
They went out and got Martellus Bennett.
Yeah. Right, and didn't break the bank.
Exactly.
They're giving me the hook. We'll pick this up when we come back in the next segment. In the next segment, we're going to talk about, let's talk about the draft and who the Niners are going to get when we come back right here on Hooked on the Niners.
Hey, Mark, look.
Teach me, believe in me, mentor me. The Ocala Mentoring Program at Ocala Middle School is seeking caring, committed adult volunteers to mentor our youth. Our program aims to empower students to avoid high-risk behaviors such as crime, drug use, teen pregnancy, and truancy. Mentors assist youth in developing strategies to overcome their personal and academic barriers and achieve their goals. They help their mentees make healthier choices that lead to physical, social, and emotional wellness. Become a mentor and be the difference in a youth life today.
All right, welcome back to Hooked on the Niners. I'll just kind of help produce here on the air if our great producer Gopher Gold can put up we've got a little list of players from local schools around here that are going to be eligible for the draft. So if any family members are watching this, we've got your back. There are some guys here from Cal, Stanford, and San Jose State. Most notably, Jared Goff, I guess, is at the top of that list. And Dan, I know that you you did a story on him. There it is, Jared Goff, Lasco, Lawler, and all the rest from California. Stanford with a lot of guys. Maybe Josh Garnett is their diamond there. It'll be interesting to see where Kevin Hogan goes. And then, of course, San Jose State with Tyler Irvin, who was second in the nation in all-purpose yards.
Tyler Irvin.
Yeah. And I think we left off Wes Schweitzer. No relation to Albert, as Lawrence Fan told me in an email when I was trying to find that out. Let's talk about the first two guys that we'll get to, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time around Jared Goff. Last month I went to his family home, met with his parents, hung out on the couch for a little bit, went to his old high school.
All for this show.
All for this show.
Absolutely.
Did they feed you?
Did they? No. Sam Farmer from the LA Times went and got pizza. So
What?
Yeah, must be
Really?
their second round choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a water. But the more I found out about him, the more I liked him, and the more I think that the team that drafts him, presumably it's going to be the Los Angeles Rams,
Oh,
is
no
getting
doubt.
a character guy, a guy who's going to be always working to get better. I think that the scouts like his footwork, his arm, his accuracy, and I think he's going to get bigger, which is one of the knocks on this guy.
Sure.
So, besides the small hands.
Right. Which got an eighth of an inch bigger from the combine to California.
But the way he handled that, kind of joking it off and laughing it off, I think speaks to the kind of guy that they're getting, a guy who is cool under pressure.
Right. Well, and plus, come on, it's obvious, it's in the room here. You take that face, that handsome face, and put him at quarterback down in Hollywood. Come on, that's a no-brainer. Carson Wentz, you've watched a lot.
I've watched him a lot.
As you'll notice when we put up our list and a little bit of skill position players, I don't have him listed in my top 3 quarterbacks. Never saw him play.
That's because you're missing something.
Well, yeah. I was probably at dinner. Yeah.
He's a big quarterback. He moves very well, and
Right.
And I was telling you this earlier that he reminds me of Alex Smith because he knows how to. I'm sorry, Kevin Hogan reminds me of Alex Smith. Sorry, but
They both do that.
exactly.
Yeah.
But he's the thing about him is that when he gets under center and he drops back,
Yeah.
he'll look at one receiver, and if it's not there, then he'll check down or he'll run.
Yeah.
He's got a strong arm. And people say, well, wait a minute. He played at North Dakota State,
Right.
but he went into some bigger games. I believe he beat Miami of Ohio.
But that sounds kind of so far like a guy that we have that went to Nevada.
Yeah.
That sees one guy and then checks down and
But
runs.
you're talking about a guy who's going to, when he gets to the pros, he's actually going to get better.
Well,
And I think and we were talking about this, that if the Eagles draft him, which they should,
right.
then he's going to sit under Sam Bradford for a year, maybe 2, and then you got a head coach, Doug Peterson, who was a pretty good backup, back in the day.
Right.
He'll be really good.
Sam Bradford, who has said he wants out of Philadelphia now that they've moved up to get the second pick of the draft. All right. The 49ers have a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick. They have 2 4s, 3 5s, and 4 6s. So they have 12 picks total. So with those 12 picks, each of you, just in one word, give me the number one position of need for the 49ers. If you had your way, you would pick at what position, not necessarily a player.
So first of all, at number 7, if those 2 quarterbacks are not there,
Right.
I say trade down, as they have done last year or the year before, and get a couple more picks and still get the person you're looking for. But there's always NFL coaches and NFL draft rooms. There's kind of a terminology that says you can never have too many defensive linemen.
Right.
So that's where I go.
Okay. Daryl?
I go offensive lineman because this is a good year for offensive tackles.
Yeah.
You're going to have Stanley there. You could have who's the kid out of Mississippi?
Laramie Tunsil.
He could be there as well. So
Right.
you got a good offensive tackle sitting there. Why not take him?
How about you?
Yeah, for the 49ers draft needs, I wrote down yes.
Doesn't matter.
But I would say offensive tackle 1,
Yeah.
pass rusher 2 in terms of priority.
Yeah. I agree with you two guys. I'm of the theory that offensive lines win and lose games. That's exactly what I believe.
Right.
And I think that every year, every team in the NFL, within their first 3 picks, should take an offensive lineman. Even if you've got the greatest line and somebody gets hurt, I think offensive line is the number one need of theirs. And you talked about trading and moving down. You were with the 49ers when the greatest draft of trading and moving down happened in 1986 with Bill Walsh, who basically, as I read later, said there were like 10 guys in that draft, and in this draft I think there's 8, and we happen to be picking, right above that number. There were maybe 10 guys, but he thought all the rest were pretty equal. So he thought, well, I want as many of those as I can get, and I don't think we picked until the 3rd round, did we, Jerry?
We had a 2nd round pick.
Okay.
You're talking about the 86 draft.
Yeah, the 86
And I actually
draft.
made notes.
Okay.
The director or the producer or somebody said, "What do you know about the 86 draft?"
Yeah.
There's some names on that roster of draftees that day by the Niners that are amazing.
Fire a couple out.
Well, Larry Roberts.
Yep.
As I say, you can never have too many defensive linemen.
Right.
A guy named Tom Rathman,
Oof.
who's still with the Niners.
Yep. Looks like he could
years
still
later,
play.
30 years later?
Yeah.
Tim McKyer,
Yep.
DB. John Taylor, maybe the most underrated wide receiver in 49er history.
When in 49 history, how about NFL history?
Yeah.
Period.
Most underrated player.
Yes.
Forget position.
Yes. Yeah.
That guy was a
That's where I
stud.
was,
Oh, yeah.
that's where I was going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that was Rathman and McKyer and Taylor were all in the 3rd round.
Right.
In the 4th round, we got a guy named Charles Haley.
Hall of Famer.
Steve Wallace, you talk about outstanding offensive lineman.
Yeah. Won a few bucks from him on the golf course. Go ahead. Yeah.
Big, sexy.
Right.
Big
Real
sexy.
good pick. He stunk.
That's well, how else could you have won some?
Wow.
No, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
Kevin Fagan,
Yeah.
who's kind of a guy that Trent would like because a lot of injuries in college,
Yeah.
a lot of knee surgery, yet he had a great career, came back from all those injuries and came back and had a great career for us.
Sure.
The 5th round, we got a guy named Pat Miller, a linebacker out of Florida, who didn't do much in 49er annals, but then we came back with Don Griffin,
Don Griffin started at cornerback.
and then Tony Cherry, who I always thought could have stayed with us longer, was with us for 2 years. And then we finished up with, I'm 99% sure, Harold Hallman, linebacker from Auburn. I think he was Brad Dillman's pick. Brad Dillman was an actor
Yeah.
who befriended Coach Walsh and was a draftnik, and he would be like taking notes and whispering in scouts' ears like, "What about this? What about this?"
You
And I think
talking about Bradford Dillman?
Bradford Dillman.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Wow.
I think that Bill said, since we did so well draft-wise, we're in the 10th round, Brad, why don't you take our last pick for us?
Wow.
He took Harold Hallman, linebacker from Auburn, who was a sleeper. He didn't turn out to be a Patrick Willis or anything, but
Sure.
but he helped a little bit. He was a good player.
Okay, let's assume that they're not going to trade down, and the draft is going to go. We know Goff, I think, is going to go to Los Angeles, Wentz to Philadelphia. Let's get the next few before we get to the 49ers, and if we can put up the graphic of our skill position guys at quarterback and so on, we can take a look at that as we're doing this. San Diego then has to take Jalen Ramsey.
They take Jalen Ramsey, or they take one of the tackles.
Okay, let's say they get Ramsey.
I'd take Ramsey.
Now, what does Dallas do?
I have Tunsil down.
Do you have Tunsil down for them?
But I think they couldn't lose with either one.
Oh, well, I mean, they got to replace Eric Whittle.
Eric Whittle.
So yeah.
So there you go. So let's give him Ramsey. Dallas, do they go pass rush? You know, they still have the problem with Hardy. You know, maybe
I can
this.
see Miles Jack there.
You think Miles Jack? You think
Very
they'd
possible.
go for a linebacker there, or Joey Bosa?
I like Joey Bosa.
I see Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott,
see Elliott there.
running back. So we've got. Well, I agree with you. So that's 2 against you guys. So there goes Bosa. Now who goes to
the
Jacksonville? Is this where Miles Jack goes?
Bosa.
No, I already gave Bosa to Dallas.
I'm talking about my picks.
Oh, okay. You don't want to play with us. Okay. So let's say Jacksonville goes with Miles Jack. And then Baltimore, I think that's where they're going to jump on Laramie Tunsil.
Yes.
They won't let him get any further.
Right.
Now that brings us to San Francisco. And if we can have that, has the graphic been up for the skill position players? Let's see.
There it is.
There, we got it right there. All right. Do we want? It's too high to take Connor Cook or Paxton Lynch. Now you'll notice that I don't have Wentz on there, but he wasn't.
he's
there
gone
'cause I
already,
didn't play. I think it's too high for any of the running backs. The fullback, you notice there's a Gronkowski and a Watt. Those are brothers of guys that play in the league right now. J.J. Watt and Gronk from New England. Is this too high for Laquan Treadwell, the wide receiver out of Mississippi?
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that at all.
Especially after what he ran, you know, and
Right.
He ran what did he run, like a 4.7 or 4.8.
Right.
You know, so I mean, they need. I mean, in my opinion, they need offensive help. So go after Ronnie Stanley, you know, or it could be, you know, it could go either way.
So it's Ronnie Stanley. We're going to agree on the outstanding offensive lineman from Notre Dame. The 49ers would take him in the 7th round. Ostensibly would go in and play tackle. Although the right tackle, whose name escapes me, Brown, that we had at the end of the last year, Trent Brown from Florida, I thought was making pretty good strides. I don't know if he could kick inside. He's awfully big.
Yeah.
He is awfully big. But that now they've got to solve some problems at guard too. But I think this would be a big step to get Ronnie Stanley right there.
Any votes for DeForest Buckner here?
Yep.
Well, you know what? There's him, and then a guy that I think just seems every time I see him, or if I look at highlights of him. Now these are highlight films from school, right? Robert Nkemdiche is unblockable. It appears to be.
But a lot of problems off field.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does.
I mean, and we've been down that road before.
Yeah, and we don't.
So, but I mean, if you let's say that you don't like Buckner, you still have Shaq Lawson there,
right?
But I think the defensive ends are so deep that you can go the 2nd, 3rd round and find a good one as well.
Okay, so now we didn't get our quarterback.
For my vote, I'm going DeForest Buckner there.
You're going DeForest Buckner. Okay.
Show to watch 10 years from now.
Okay.
Let me throw out another one.
Yeah.
Miles Jack.
Well, we gave him to Jacksonville.
So we agreed that he was gone?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
Okay.
that.
Well, that's okay, but that's somebody these are names that we want our viewers to have in mind when it comes time to pick. So now, if we got the tackle now, the next best quarterback to me, and I think very underrated, is Connor Cook.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if we have not made the deal with Denver for Kaepernick, I think Connor Cook will go to Denver. I think they'll take him.
I think so, too.
No question. So
right.
we talked about the picks that the 49ers have. Do you now take our 2nd, maybe one of our 4ths, and a 5th to try to move back up into the 1st round low and get Connor Cook before the Denver Broncos do? Do we do that?
I don't think so. But, I mean, who knows with the Niners? They could actually take Paxton Lynch at 7 because there's 4 quarterbacks that are going to be drafted in the 1st round. And the way that Paxton Lynch is shooting up right now.
I like Paxton.
Yeah.
So, so let's say they get a deal done with Denver or whomever.
Right.
And, and trade Kaepernick. So then they get a 2nd or a 3rd.
Right.
Okay. So, you get Paxton Lynch. There's still some tackles and guards that you can get.
Yeah, there's just so many ways to go about this thing.
I like Connor Cook. And the games that I saw him play, he impressed me.
He's a winner.
Someone said, and I don't know who it was, some draftnik said, his accuracy is in question.
Oh gosh, I always thought his accuracy was very, very good.
I thought so too. I just think that there's so many drops,
right?
From his receivers,
right?
So
if we don't make the trade, and we have to pick in our normal place in the 2nd round, we got a couple of minutes here, but we can go over a little bit. Who do we get with the 2nd pick, and at what position? What's the position for the 2nd pick, Dan?
Well, since I took a defensive guy, there's a guy from Kansas State named Cody Whitehair.
Oh,
I like him.
Guard. I think he could be in that spot.
Yeah.
And I think, remember, they lost Alex Boone in free agency.
Right.
We thought that maybe Anthony Davis might come back. I think that looks more and more unlikely. So a guy like Cody Whitehair, he's got his 6'4", 309. I think he'd be a good fit right there.
Yeah. I would say him or Josh Garnett at Stanford. I saw a lot of Garnett leading, what's the little kid's name that runs all over the place? McCaffrey. Wow. He does have to get some blocks to get open, and a lot of times it was Josh Garnett.
Or you take Alexander from LSU.
Alexander, there's a bunch of good guards in here.
There's a lot of good guards.
Notice we didn't hold it against him that he went to LSU, Jerry.
LSU?
Yeah, LSU, yeah.
But also, too, there's a kid out of Missouri, Connor McGovern, who can play guard and tackle. He reminds me of Kyle Kozer.
Yeah.
Who's
my favorite guy? I forgot. I don't have it here. Talk among yourselves for a second.
What number do we have in the 2nd round?
Huh?
What number do we have in the 2nd round? What pick?
We've got
The seventh one down.
Yeah.
Seventh
again.
again?
Yeah, seventh one down again. So, but there's going to be a lot of good players available into round 3 and 4. I think it's a fairly deep draft.
Right.
And then I love the fact that you get sleepers and all of that kind of stuff that comes up later on, which when we come back from this break, if we can have the list of the sleepers and our wish list of guys that I hope end up on the 49er team. Oh, we've got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, sweet.
So after you get the offensive lineman in the second round, what do we do in round 3? Is that where we start to go for a wide receiver? Because that is also a glaring need.
But also too, this is a deep draft for corners. You know, so you got a lot of corners. You know,
Right.
so let's say that you've gone 2 offensive players. Now let's start looking at the defense
Right.
as well.
Right.
You know. But still, you can go corner, you can go defensive end as well. You know, if you got a guy like Noah Spence who's still around, why not snatch him?
Noah Spence, a guy from Ohio State that left there to go.
Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
You can take anybody from Ohio State and plug it into my wish list.
You know what? I said the same thing to you when you got here today. When the 49ers hand in their card, the guy would say, well, it just says Ohio State. And
Right.
they'd say, yeah, just get one of those guys and ship them over.
Next up.
They are loaded. Which brings me to Braxton Miller. Absolutely love this guy as a
Yep.
wide receiver.
Oh, yeah.
He's absolutely phenomenal, and I hope he does end up on our wish list. All right. When we come back, we will talk a little bit more about the draft and what's going to happen this year with the San Francisco 49ers. Our predictions coming up. Hooked on the Niners is partially underwritten by the following. The Bay 101 Casino. They can be reached at 408-451-8888 or at bay101.com. The Carmel Honey Company. They can be reached at 831-687-8511 or on the web at carmelhoneycompany.com. RMI HVAC and Plumbing. 650-583-6200 and on the web at rmihvac.com. Bluestone Engineering, 925-932-7053 and on the web at bluestonemeb.com. Drew Ward Tile Company can be reached at 408-264-9273 or connect with Ed at drewwardtile.com. All right, welcome back to Hooked on the Niners. We've gotten you through our second pick of the draft, and we've got a little wish list and some sleepers over here that we'd love to see end up in a 49ers uniform. One of them is a wide receiver out of Clemson, Sharon Peak, which I think there's a guy that might be there late in the draft. Here we go. And then look at the second one down, Ted Karras, the nephew of Alex Karras, and both his father and his uncle played in the NFL.
Can you punch a horse?
Yeah, can you punch a horse? Then you go down to
Is that a combine test?
Yeah, exactly.
we go down to
punching?
Kevin Hogan. There's Braxton Miller, who I love. Kenyon Drake, who was the backup running back to help me at Alabama. Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Who is just phenomenal. Cyrus Jones from Alabama.
Yep.
And Tyvis Powell from Oklahoma State are some guys that you might want to look for. But here might be my favorite player in the draft, Dan. Laquan McGowan from Baylor. 6'7", 410
Your kind of guy.
410 pounds, and runs a 5.55 40-yard dash. Caught 3 touchdown passes in goal line situations with Baylor this year.
So
I would pick him just so we could watch him, just
got
to
the
look at him.
measurables.
Yeah, he's got the measurables, does he?
So if he walks into an all-you-can-eat, you close the doors right away.
You go up to him, and after his third plate, you'd say, "That is all you can eat." That's how that expression works.
With 3 or 4 bodyguards.
Yeah, with 3 or 4 bodyguards. I guess his nickname would be Equator. I don't know.
It should be pointed out, by the way, that for all our mock draft picks here, Balky's got to get this one right. This is not a mock
Amen.
draft for him.
Amen.
Right? Eric Branch, who does a great job covering the Niners for the San Francisco Chronicle, documented this. 50 picks Balky's had since 2011. 1 Pro Bowl player,
Stay
Alden
Wow.
Smith.
Alden?
Alden Smith. So that's 50 picks one Pro Bowl player. So
Who's
he
not even on
knows
the team anymore.
right.
Right.
So, I think all indications are this is a make or break draft. If he whiffs this time,
Right.
and you just were mentioning some of the receivers, that's really been an area where he's missed on.
Oh, yeah.
If he misses this time, their next draft pick is going to be general manager.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll happen during the offseason or maybe sooner, who knows.
But this is like like we talked about before. This is a deep draft in
Yeah.
certain positions, wide receiver, corner, stuff like that. If he whiffs on this, then that really tells you.
And having more picks than anybody in the NFL.
How many do we have?
12.
Yeah.
12 picks.
Yeah.
Nobody has that many picks. And Jerry brought up a good point. Do you make it even more picks by going from 7? Maybe they can get another tackle a little bit later, like you said, and maybe they can get another guard or get a quarterback a little later, like Dak Prescott or somebody like that, by just amassing more picks as you go down. I mean, I would love to see what it's like in there on draft day with the phones ringing. If somebody's really got their heart set on somebody and you're in a position to take that player, the deals are there to be made.
Right, they've got 12 picks and they've got trade bait,
Yes.
whether it's Kaepernick or Anthony Davis. I mean,
Right.
there's moves to be made.
Yeah. Or Bethea, the safety.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of things that they can do. There's no question about that.
Right.
The schedule. The schedule has been released. I don't know if
That's a tough schedule.
I have a copy of it.
well, I think our ace producer, Gopher, who was up all last night creating this, I think he's got the schedule that they can throw up there. My first blush at looking at this, I thought, and I'll say this categorically on the air, if they win 3 games, I'll take you guys to the Canyon Inn for lunch. Yeah.
That's our daily lunch spot anyway.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but I'll take you there and
Or
pick up the
hors
tab.
d'oeuvres at the Canyon Inn and then lunch somewhere else.
We can do that. We can do that. I don't see more than 3 wins on the schedule. Have you guys had a chance to look at it?
I
You-
give more than 3 wins.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go down the schedule.
To start with is awfully tough.
Oh, yeah.
One in against the Rams,
Against the Rams. It is at home.
Right.
but it's against the Rams.
Yeah.
And the Rams are going to be
They're good.
better,
Yes.
and they're going to remember their final game of last year, too.
And
Yeah.
Jared Goff under center.
Yeah.
And
Coming
then-
back home.
And then 2 road games.
That game will cost him a fortune
Yeah.
for the tickets he's going to have to get.
Yeah.
2 road games at
Mm-hmm.
the Panthers, at the Seahawks.
Okay, tell me which one of those they're going to win.
They're not.
They,
They're winnable.
Any game is winnable.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course,
they could be
of
3-0 at that point. We could all be shocked.
Here we go. Okay, so we've got Los Angeles at Carolina at Seattle. Then you're home to Dallas, which, I mean, if Tony Romo is healthy, this Dallas could be rolling.
Yeah.
They could be.
They could
or
be
they could
rolling.
be struggling too, as they
Right.
have been for the last 10 years or 15 years.
Okay.
I say they beat Dallas.
Okay, Arizona at home. I don't think we can beat them. At Buffalo is an extremely hard game.
Yeah.
Extremely hard
beat
game.
Arizona last year at home. Should have maybe beat them last year at home.
Yeah.
Got a few bad breaks down the stretch. So I think they can beat the Cardinals at home. So there's 2 wins right there.
Okay, how about Buffalo?
At Buffalo, at least it won't be snowing.
Yeah.
You never know, though.
Dan, can they beat Buffalo in Buffalo?
No.
No. Okay. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I think, is an opportunity for a win.
That's a winnable game.
A winnable game. As we look down this, New Orleans,
that
That's
could be
winnable.
That could be winnable.
okay. At Arizona's not. New England at home isn't. I don't think we go down to Miami and beat Miami down there, not in the heat. At Chicago, the New York Jets, Atlanta. I'm telling you, 3 wins and lunches on me.
And here's something we have to think about too. We don't know who's going to be under center. Right. Okay. So you look at the 1, 2, 3, the first, or 4 of the 5 games. They got great defenses.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly. Now,
So-
earlier in the show, I asked you guys for what was some of the bright lights of last year. What was it? To me, Blaine Gabbert, I think, and I'm not saying this in a condescending way, I think they have their backup quarterback. I think he's a very, very good NFL backup quarterback. I'm not sure that if he's our starting quarterback, that we can go through this whole season with him. And if for some reason, heaven forbid, he were to get hurt, who comes in?
Right.
I like the way he played.
I did too.
I was alarmed. The checkdowns got a little silly there by the end.
Yeah.
His tendency to check down, but he certainly was not the overmatched bust that he was coming out in Jacksonville. I think he used the time on the bench to develop and get better, and maybe some of his hidden skills had time to come out. The checkdowns are hard. Is that a quarterback playing scared, or is that a guy playing behind an overmatched offensive line with shaky receivers?
Right.
It's tough to tell, but he was not hopeless.
We talked about perhaps getting a tackle in the first round, Ronnie Stanley, and then you mentioned Cody Whitehair in the second round, the other guy in the first round. Now you put him behind people like this. How much better does Blaine Gabbert get?
Well, I think it definitely helps.
Well, yeah.
It's what a wise man once said: offensive line wins games.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that was you.
Yeah. Well, somebody said it before me, who was the wise man.
But also too, he's not going to have a security blanket.
Right.
Bolden's not going to be there.
Well, we haven't heard anything yet. What is happening with that? Does anybody know?
Nobody knows right now.
Nobody knows.
No, but you would think that if they're going to do something, get it done now.
Okay.
This is off-season. This is the off-season conditioning program.
Now,
Get it done
as we're taping this 3 days before the draft, Kaepernick is still on the roster. They're saying all the right things that, oh yeah, we want him here, blah 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 blah, for all the right reasons to keep his trade value up. But when Denver offered, I think, their 4th round pick, and to take up, I think $6 million of his contract,
Something like that,
and we would have to take up the 4.5 or 5, whatever it was. I thought that was a good deal.
Well, and Dan, maybe you can correct me on this, but I heard they moved it all the way up to a third.
They did.
Round pick.
They
That's
moved
what I
it up
heard.
to a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, and take part of his salary.
Wow.
I would jump on that in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I would have jumped on that. And now you got 2/3, and you've got Kaepernick gone.
Yep.
And now you've got ammunition to move up to get a quarterback.
I don't think Kaepernick needs to be gone. I'm still in Kaepernick's corner.
Okay.
And I think if he comes back healthy, focused, and maybe under this new offense, he could be the Kaepernick we saw that led us to a Super Bowl.
Do you really? With this team, they're essentially not a star receiver on the team.
So I'm not saying he will lead us to a Super Bowl this year.
No.
I'm saying he could be that same quarterback from a few years ago. He needs some help.
Yeah.
He needs Hyde to be healthy. I added to that wish list Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
On my wish list for some help. But I think I know that we're not fans. We're not part of the team. I mean, I'm part of the team, but
Yeah.
but I think a positive look is I think he's still got that potential still there. I think if we trade him away, he can be a star in somebody else's offense.
But the thing is, though, can he get along with the people upstairs? It seems like he can't, and I don't know the reasons why, but he can't let that go. And that's one of the reasons why they gave him permission. And he went out to Denver twice to meet with John Elway. So now if you're in the locker room and you're looking at this like, well, okay, does he want to be here? Does he not want to be here? If you start losing games, then everybody, then it could divide the locker room.
Dan, didn't I read a story where he said he wanted out of here? Didn't I read that someplace?
It was his agent saying coming out here. Kaepernick hasn't said a word about it.
Okay.
Personally, which is what Trent Baalke and them say. Like, hey, we haven't heard it from Cap's lips. But it's a little troubling that Baalke said the other day in his pre-draft media session, hey, I haven't met face to face with Kaepernick. Well, Kaepernick was there for the conditioning program. They were in the same proximity. That's where you have to be able to get the quarterback and the general manager to sit down and talk about these things.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
I don't know how it plays out. It's hard for me to envision him coming back. It seems like there's legitimate bad blood there that has not gone away with the passage of time.
You're right, exactly.
Right.
And that's why I think it's critical that at some point during this draft, they've got to get a quarterback, whether it's trade lower picks to move back up into the first round or take a shot at somebody in round 2 or 3. And I don't know how low on the list of quarterbacks for this draft you go. Kevin Hogan, to me, would be intriguing.
Well, here's the thing, though, is that if you go lower, draft a quarterback lower, is Blaine Gabbert the guy that's actually going to mentor this guy? I mean, does he have that capability? If you take a guy like Cardale Jones, who say Arizona takes him, you're sitting behind Carson Palmer. You learn from that.
Right.
So, but do you move up and do you take a Paxton Lynch at number 7?
Right.
Who could be ready to step in?
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. Carson Palmer is no idiot. He sees the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train coming.
Right.
I mean, he knows his time is limited. But would Gabbard, who sees that, you know,
Birthday.
oh, happy birthday! Happy
birthday to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I didn't realize it was Jerry's birthday, so we've got cannolis here. So yours is the one with the balloons on it, and Jerry, happy birthday to you tomorrow as well. Yeah, one of the
thank you,
one
Mitch.
of them in his 40s, the other in his early 80s.
So back to the subject.
Yeah.
I think Gabbard could be a good guy to teach, to have someone learn behind him.
Even though he's finally got another chance, a second chance after Jacksonville, and probably just kind of salivating. Now you want me to? I'm going to train this guy how to do my job.
I think that's one of his
Right.
One of his talents, one of his traits is he is a good guy, and he is a team guy, and he'd be all. I was with the Niners back in the day when I look out my window and I see Freddie Solomon working with Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
After practice, one-on-one, it's like, Freddie, he's going to take your job. It's for the team, man. It's for the team.
Well, you know, he's a better man than I am. There's no question about that. I think we've only got a few minutes left here, so let's kind of in depth. We've got 4 minutes. Okay. How do you see the 2016 season turning out here?
I should probably go last because you give you guys less chance to jump on me, but
No.
it could be a 500 season.
You're wrong. Care if it's your birthday?
You idiot!
It could be.
Yeah, it could. Okay, it could be an 8-8 season. You think okay? Boy, you're a better man than I am.
It could be. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be.
If they are 8-8, I'll buy you the Canyon Inn.
Remember, he said that.
Ooh.
8-8. I mean, and tell me why.
Because there are no losses on the table right now.
Okay.
It's a fresh start.
Okay.
Anything can happen. I mean, God forbid, check the cell phone again on Steph Curry's health.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. You don't know who you're going to play. You know the team. You don't know what offense and defense you're going to play. A break here, a break there. How many games last year were lost on a player or two?
Do you think there's enough core players there, or not core players, second, third, fourth round guys that are going to come to the forefront this year?
That's I guess that's what I'm basing it on. Is
Okay.
those young guys stepped up last year.
Okay.
They should step up another notch or two, another step or two this year.
Okay.
And I think that infused with some maybe improved younger talent on the roster, they could be 500.
Okay. Terrell?
I 4, maybe 5 wins.
Okay.
You know, and the thing is that how is Chip Kelly going to change this? Okay?
Yeah.
If he's going to use his old system, where everybody's constantly in motion. Looking at the schedule towards the end, how tired are these guys going to be?
Right.
And then the injury factors start chipping in.
You got to have a deep roster.
Right. And plus, you're talking about a deep roster, the draft.
Yeah.
You're going to have some players that can jump in
Come right on the field.
automatically.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't say anything
The
yet.
Canyon Inn on the cheeseburger. Wins and losses don't matter this season.
Right.
This is this whole year to establish a foundation. Right now, there's no foundation.
That's
There's
well
nothing
put.
to build around.
That's well
You've got
put.
a new coach. You've got 12 draft picks. You've got some money still to spend, depending on how you want to play it. It's all about establishing something
right.
for 2017.
Right.
Can I rephrase?
We've
mine?
got 45 seconds if you want to.
I was-
Okay. What you guys didn't realize. Oh, you probably want to know what I think for next year. Let me just put it this way.
That's a secret word?
As soon as this show is over, I'm going to go check out the 2017 draft. The secret word this week was band. It was nice to have the band back together, guys. It was good to see you because I really missed 2 of you.
The birthday boys.
They're 500.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we hope you enjoyed our show. We'll see you probably later this year. It's going to be football season again, and we'll be right here on Hooked on the Niners. Take care.
And remember, wins and losses.
Hooked on the Niners is partially underwritten by the following. Oh, God, yeah.
So one thing I wanted to mention, but it wasn't
Take a cannoli with you.
wasn't safe was to jump in was how did he do his last game?
Yeah.
I mean, how is he going to be to mentor a young quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay, but
yeah.
but you have to look at it. He was battered. He was injured, and I mean, I would rather have somebody
Thanks, Dan.
sit behind
I hope
him
you're
and
not
learn
late.
And back together.
Yeah.
because he is a good quarterback. He's a very, very good quarterback.
Oh yeah, no
Well,
question.
So, yeah.
Gabbert was not injured, but Gabbert was
Get your
badgered.
thing off. Okay.
Not
there
as
you
bad
go.
as Carson.
No,
Okay.
no.
See you later.